Dr. Robert Pruni. Today I'm going to talk to you about weight loss and nutrition. Just to give you some basics, the basic facts on food. Most people are very confused about what types of foods to eat. There's proteins, there's carbohydrates, and there's fats. Now many people don't really know how to get their protein, how to get their carbs, how to get their fats, and even if they did, they're not sure of what combinations of nutrients in order to maintain a maximum maximum health potential and their ideal body weight. So one time I was on vacation with another couple, and we went and worked out, and they went and had breakfast, and we met again later, and the wife had stated that she ate this wonderful breakfast and had pineapples and papaya and had the whole grain breads, and I'd said to her, what did, it sounds good, but what did you get for your protein source? And she really didn't have any idea what I was talking about. Isn't there protein in bread? Well, sometimes there can be, but in this particular case, she wasn't fueling her body with any protein. She had just done a workout, went and had breakfast, and didn't give her muscles the fuel that was needed in order to do the repair. So again, we come back to the simple question, what do I eat? Very simplistically, all of the thousands of diet books that are out there, I mean, you literally have thousands. You have the Atkins and hundreds of derivatives of Atkins and the Zone diet and Pritikin diet and all these different diets that say eat these magical percentages of nutrients. One's all protein, one's 40% low glycemic carbohydrates. Who do you believe? What do you believe? And what is going to be best for you? And who's right and who's wrong? Well, everything depends. It really depends on you. It depends on your age. It depends on your level of activity. It depends upon your body type. So there's all these many variables, but I can tell you with certainty, if you tell me that I'm eating a low-calorie diet and I hardly eat anything at all, and doc, I just can't lose weight. I can't do it. No matter what, I just can't lose weight, and I'm really doing well and I'm watching what I eat. That's difficult for me to swallow, because if we stuck you in a desert for 2 weeks, you lose weight. That's why people go and have gastric bypasses and they drop 80 pounds. Because if you eat, your stomach is so small, it's literally painful to eat. So it doesn't necessarily come down to your, you think that you're not eating much. You typically are. You are usually overeating, and you're eating too much of the wrong food. So getting back to proteins, carbs, and fats. What's a protein? A protein is any kind of meat, fish, fowl. There's proteins that are in seeds and nuts and legumes. We can get proteins out of vegetable sources, and we can get proteins out of animal sources. How much do we need to eat? Again, it depends. So if you are an office worker, you're at a computer 8 hours a day, and you don't do any exercise at all, your greatest extent of exercise is you walk out your front door, pick up the mail, then you are not going to have the nutritional and caloric, which is a unit of heat, calorie, requirements as somebody who's out running 13 miles. So everything depends. Getting back to what I should consume. So let's assume that you have some level of activity, and that's kind of where I'm going to gear the conversation. If you do something, say you're stretching 10-15 minutes a day, maybe do a couple push-ups, couple sit-ups, and you're trying to do this at least 5 days a week, which I would minimally, again, recommend. Protein requirements, your carbohydrate requirements, and your fat requirements are going to be a little bit different than someone who's sedentary. So very simplistically, if you just take, and it's the size and thickness of the palm of your hand, in the morning we're supposed to have our biggest meal that fuels us throughout the day. So if you use the size and thickness of your own hand, that can be what's considered your portion size. So your morning meal really should be your biggest meal, and you'll have you can have up to 2 portions of your breakfast meal. Then approximately 2.5 to 3 hours later, you'll have another fuel source. And again, the question is it proteins, is it carbs, is it fats? Well, typically, and again simplistically, and everything depends and has variables, but I recommend at least 20 grams of protein per meal. So if you're getting it, and if it's not at least 20 grams of protein, then it's typically not considered a meal. So in 6 meals a day times 20, that'll give you 120 grams of protein. Now for a 110 pound female who has very little activity, some will argue that that's just too much protein for them. But remember, this is for people that have activity. So you get up in the morning, you have 2 portions. You have a good protein source, could be eggs, good carbohydrate source to fuel you throughout the day. And that can be a whole grain bread, that can be a whole grain bagel, but something that's not going to exceed the size and thickness of your palm of your hand. 2.5 to 3 hours later, sometimes what I'll do is I'll have a protein shake. So that'll give me the adequate protein that I need to fuel my muscles, and it has a lower level of carbohydrates, so I'm not exceeding what my body needs to burn. 2.5 to 3 hours later, I have my lunch meal. So again, 1 portion size, and I do up to 1.5 portions for lunch, and it just depends again on my activity level. 2.5 to 3 hours later, then I'll have another protein source. I might have a little bit of carbohydrates if my energy level is dropping throughout the day. And then 2.5 to 3 hours later, I'm now on my 5th meal, which would be dinner. And most people, particularly in the US, we have it reversed, where we do our biggest meal of the day at the end of the day instead of at the beginning of the day. So we wake up, grab a cup of coffee, we're late for school or work, we haven't fueled our body with any nutrients. By 10 a.m., we're starving for nutrients, and we grab something that's on the counter at our offices that's in a box, that's wrapped in cellophane, that's a additive, preservative, neurotoxic food that gives us absolutely no nutrients at all. By the time we reach dinner, our bodies we're not only literally starving, but our bodies are starving for nutrients. So we tend to overeat at the dinner meal, which should be the 5th meal of the day. And remember, we space this out throughout the day, small meals. So you have your portion for dinner, about half the palm, so 1.5 portions, and depending upon your energy requirements, up to 2 portions. But I try to keep it at about 1.5 portions. Then 2.5 to 3 hours later, if you eat, say, at 6 o'clock for your 5th meal, 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock could be your final meal for the night. Then you don't usually have much activity level. Then that gives your body the rest of the evening to burn off the nutrients in the 6th meal. And what I like to do is feed myself a little bit of protein before I go to bed, just so my body stays in a positive nitrogen balance. In other words, you're fueling your muscles before you go to sleep. That way, when you've had a fast for 8 hours, you wake up, break, fast, you're going to have breakfast again. Breaking your fast, your muscles will not atrophied over the sleep process and sent you into what we call a catabolic state, where your muscles are breaking down. If your muscles break down, then you are not going to lose weight. So your muscles will lose that density, and your metabolism will slow down. So to recap, 6 meals a day, small meals throughout the day. You want to have an adequate protein, carb, and fat source. Now, we didn't really touch much on fats. What's a good fat? What's a bad fat? Essential fatty acids, fish oil. Most of what you can get from your protein sources is typically adequate for your fats. The fats that are inside the lean meats and fish will give you adequate amounts of fats throughout the day. However, again, everything depends. If your activity level is high, you might want to increase with an omega-3, an omega-6, or an omega-9 fatty acids, and those can be purchased in supplement form. I hope that this has helped, and remember, just keep it very, very simple, very basic, 6 meals a day, 20 grams of protein per meal, and remember, try to get activity at least five days a week, 20 minutes, minimally 20 minutes. I hope that this has helped. In my Flex Building Physique Enhancement book, we have a number of recipes in there for certain body types. And I guess one of the issues that we've had with our female clients who have done the program over the past 15 years is they'll look at a meal that we recommend in the book, and they'll make it, and they're all very easy to make. But what they'll tell me, and what I've heard consistently, is it's too much food. Now remember, we talked about 6 meals a day, and you have 2.5 to 3 hours in between every meal. If you make a certain meal and you sit down and you eat this meal and you're halfway through and you are full, should you consume the rest of it? Of course not. You just eat what you can. When you're full, you're full. However, remember, you have another 2.5 to 3 hours later before you're going to eat another meal. Remember, eating the meals is about fueling your body for health. So you save that. If you eat this meal, if you ate any kind of a meal and you were full, what are you going to do 45 minutes later? You're going to grab some junk that's in the refrigerator or on the counter, and you're going to overeat or eat the wrong things. So just save it. Whatever you haven't consumed, save it for later. You have another 2.5 to 3 hours to consume that before your next meal. I hope that this has helped.